Hi, my name is Bridget and I'm from New York. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. When I was born, my dad used to take me to the aquarium all the time because that's where he worked as a marine biologist. Hanging out in Dad's aquarium made me fall in love with all the animals, and one day when I was around 7 years old, my dad took me into the water to meet Tulip. She was a dolphin, and she touched my nose with her long mouth.
Dad, I think she likes me.
I think so too, sweetie.
You know, when I grow up, I want to be just like you.
I loved my dad so much. I also had a great mom too, but she was always out working since she was a top lawyer in the country. My life was perfect until I came home from school one day and found my mom crying. What's wrong, Mom?
Bridget, I don't think your dad is coming back.
What do you mean he's not coming back?
His job called and they sent out some lifeguards to search for a research crew they sent out at sea, and they can't find him.
Mom broke down again, and I wanted to comfort her, but I was also breaking down. So I ran to my room and turned on my rock music up loud. This was my way of ignoring the facts. 2 years went by, and my dad still never returned. And I became the geek who covered her face with her hair and walked around with a hoodie and books. And then, in my senior year, the school wanted to take us on a 1-week trip to the Atlantic Ocean, but my mom refused to let me go.
I'm sorry, Bridget. I already lost your father to the ocean, and I'm not losing you too.
But Mom, this is my opportunity to explore the best sea creatures in the world. Mom stood her ground and stuck to her decision. But when I told my biology teacher, Mrs. Jam, she immediately came to my house since I was her top student and she adored me to bits.
Hi, ma'am. I came to speak to you about Bridget. If it's about that trip to the Atlantic Ocean, my answer is no.
Mrs. Jam was a very persistent person, and somehow she managed to convince my mom. I was so excited! The last time I felt this happy was when Dad took me camping.
Please stay safe.
I will, Mom. She hugged me tightly and almost didn't let go. The ship that we sailed on was huge, and on the first night, the kids in my school organized a party on the boat. But I didn't have many friends, so I sat by myself next to the edge of the ship, reading a book, until suddenly I spotted a dolphin. Hey there, little guy. I leaned over to touch him, and then all of a sudden I toppled over, almost falling into the sea, until the hottest guy in school caught me and pulled me up. His name was Shane, and this was my first time being this close to him.
Wow. What were you doing at the edge of the boat?
I saw a dolphin that I couldn't miss.
Haha, okay, that's cool. Just don't fall in again unless you want to be swimming with the dolphins tonight. And how come you're out here alone when everybody is having a good time at the party?
I just wanted some fresh air. A gush of breeze lifted my hair from my face.
Wow, you must be a Vogue model.
My face turned red, blushing at what he said. And then this girl, Jessica, approached us. She was one of the popular cheerleading girls at school with a massive attitude.
There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you.
She clung onto Shane and smirked at me.
What are you doing with her?
He wanted to talk to me. Do you have a problem with that?
Well, yeah. He is my boyfriend.
Well, maybe you should write your name on his forehead then. That way we will all know that he belongs to you. Shane looked at me, speechless. I was very quiet in school, but not stupid. When the snobby girls gave me an attitude, I gave it right back. After that scene, the teachers called it a timeout, which meant we all had to go to bed. And while we were fast asleep, there was a sudden bang, and then screaming.
Everyone, we need to get off the ship. The ship is sinking.
When I put my feet on the floor, there was already a puddle of water. I ran with all the other kids and we got onto a lifeboat and rowed the whole night until we came to an isolated island.
Oh my gosh, my hair is so damaged.
Jessica and her crew of cheerleaders looked like recycled Barbie dolls without their makeup. And then Shane suddenly appeared in front of me.
You still look the same. I guess natural beauty pays off in the end.
Shane, come here. I need you.
Jessica was such a control freak. She wanted Shane to hug her because she felt emotional, and him just popping up and randomly calling me beautiful was also a little strange, but I wasn't complaining. I looked up at the sky and saw that the clouds were heavy, and I remembered my dad showing me how to build shelter with banana leaves and sticks. And when I started gathering the sticks and leaves together, Jessica started mocking me.
What on earth are you doing?
Building shelter. Do you want to help?
I would never do something so degrading like that. Because I'm a lady and ladies like me could never do a maid's job.
So we're stuck out here in the middle of nowhere, and all you can think of is your lady self. I guess you're not only selfish, but also very dumb.
Ha! How dare you? It's not like we're going to stay here forever. Oh wait, I forgot you finally made it home, where you can be all alone and live amongst the sea creatures. You're such a geek.
All her friends laughed. Then Mrs. Jam gave me a hand and Shane joined in.
This is actually a bright idea because it looks like a storm is caving in.
After we built the shelter, it didn't take long for it to start pouring down, and Jessica and her minions ran to the shelter. Wow, looks like my geeky little shelter is now useful. Jessica smirked at me. Then she stood next to Shane, pulled him closer to her, and kissed him madly. A part of me did feel jealous, which I didn't understand since she was her boyfriend after all. Later that night, as we fell asleep, I had this strange dream about my dad. And then suddenly, I woke up and heard someone shouting in the woods. I bravely got up to see what it was, and then I screamed when someone touched my shoulder. Ah! Oh my gosh, Shane, what are you doing here?
I saw you get up. What are you doing out here?
I heard someone shouting. Did you hear that?
Yes, now be quiet.
We walked further into the woods until we reached a cave. We didn't have any torches, so we didn't go in. But when we turned around to go back, we were surrounded by some strange people who carried spears and dressed in animal fur. Oh my gosh, please don't hurt us! They poked us lightly with their spear and then took us to their campsite where we had to bow down before their chief. The chief pointed at me and then he asked his people to smell my hands as if they were about to eat me up. And then they tied me to a pole and started a fire. My heart pounded with so much fear. No, please! I taste like Marmite! Please don't eat me! Ah! Just as they were about to set fire to the pole, a man appeared.
Stop!
His face was covered with a beard, but I noticed his eyes. They were just like mine. Dad?
Bridget!
He cut me loose and hugged me tightly. Dad! I thought you were dead! We hugged each other, crying and smiling and feeling so overwhelmed. The strange people of the forest adored him because he saved them from pirates once, and ever since, they took care of him. How come you never came back?
I tried, but there's no way out of here. We're stuck here.
The strange people also let Shane go, and we slept in their campsite for a night. The next day, before we could go back to the rest of the kids, I woke up early in the morning to find a spot to pee. While searching for a spot not too far from the campsite, I suddenly came across a ship beached on shore. It was abandoned, so I went inside to check it out. Wow, we could actually get back home with this. While talking to myself, I felt an ice-cold sword on my cheek.
Hi there, little girl.
When I turned around, a tall, dirty man with a pirate hat stood before me, and then 3 other men joined him. I come in peace? As they tied me up, I wondered if maybe these pirates were just like the ones we watched on TV. So I tried my luck. If you let us use your ship, I can show you where the treasure is. They looked at each other, and then the captain came closer to me with his smelly breath.
Hi.
What does I mean?
Show us the treasure.
Only if you allow me and my schoolmates, plus my dad, to board this ship. They grouped together to discuss, and then they agreed. But when I took them to the campsite where my dad and Shane was, the pirates suddenly changed their minds when they saw my dad.
If that man is your dad, then no.
Dad, what did you do to them?
I just kind of exploded their camp with a little bit of dynamite.
Oh my gosh, Dad, that's dangerous!
Annabelle, are you sure about this? These pirates are not to be trusted. They've taken a lot from the people of the forest.
It's our only way to get back home. I got Mrs. Jam to talk to the Captain Pirate, and once again she worked her charm, and we all boarded their ship and sailed off to find their treasure. As I sat alone on the deck, Shane came and sat next to me.
If it wasn't for you, we'd all probably be stuck on that island, turning into savages.
Yeah, what can I say? I got it from my dad. I'm so happy I finally found him. Jessica then appeared in front of us.
Why is it every time I look for you, you're always with her?
Jessica, wait for me inside. I'll be there soon.
She rolled her eyes and stormed back inside. Why do you let her control you so much?
I don't know. I guess because she's so popular and I just got sucked into being that cool guy who gets the hot girl thing.
And do you like that?
No, if I could create my own school, I'd rather have more girls like you around.
He always had a way with words. 2 days passed, and we were still sailing. And then one day, as I stood up on the top of the ship, looking through binoculars, the Captain Pirates and all his mates surrounded me.
Where is our treasure?
We still need to get there.
Stop lying or else we will throw your dad in the ocean.
I didn't know what else to come up with, since there was no real treasure. And then to show me that they were serious, they pushed my dad into the ocean and I ran screaming, "Dad!" When I looked down, there was a shark, and then I jumped. Since my dad and I were really great swimmers, we swam underwater and stayed really still. This was something my dad taught me about sharks. They won't come near you if you remain still. After the shark swam away, Shane let down a rope and we climbed back up, but the pirates were not too happy. Okay, your treasure is in New York. Once we get there, I'll show you exactly where it is. The pirates gave us a chance, and when we eventually reached home, the kids screamed for joy and thanked me.
Bridget, you saved us.
Okay, enough of your happy screaming. We still want our treasure.
When they pointed their swords at me, the security at the harbor saw this and came to our rescue. The pirates were arrested and we were all safe. When Shane came to talk to me again, Jessica immediately pulled him away. But this time, he pushed her away.
I'm breaking up with you, Jessica.
What? You can't do that. Every boy in the school wants to date me.
No, we don't.
A few boys walked past her and laughed at her hair, now that she looked like she was electrocuted. Jessica screamed her lungs out, angry at Shane for breaking up with her, and stormed off. Shane turned and smiled at me.
I guess I'll see you at school.
Yeah, I felt butterflies in my stomach after he left, and then my dad touched my shoulder.
Are you ready to go home?
Yes, I can't wait. When we walked into our house, Mom cried and ran into Dad's arms.
Oh, how are you here?
Bridget saved me.
We all had a big family hug, and later that evening, while we were eating dinner, there was a knock on the door. Dad opened it and then said it was for me. When I went to see who it was Shane.
Hey,
Hey,
I was wondering if you would go to prom with me.
and you couldn't wait till tomorrow to tell me this?
No.
He looked so cute when he was shy, and this time I pulled him closer and kissed him. Of course, I'll be your date.
I was always pretty content with my life. I mean, sure, of course, I always dreamed that one day I would get a loving family of my own, but in the meantime, I was happy living at the orphanage. So it came as a bit of a surprise to me the day that Mrs. Wilson, the caretaker, called me into her office.
Ruby, we have some good news for you.
I looked at her in surprise. Really? What is it?
We have found a family who want to adopt you.
I can't tell you how happy I felt at that moment. It was the day I'd been waiting for all of my life. Finally, I was going to have the family I had always wanted. Hey, you think that's crazy? Stick around to the end of the video for something actually insane. Mrs. Wilson told me that the couple who wanted to adopt me were coming the next day to meet me.
Make sure that you put on your nicest dress and be on your best behavior, Ruby. You want to be sure to make a good impression on them.
Yes, Mrs. Wilson, of course. The next morning, I woke up super early. I was so excited, I couldn't wait to meet my new family. I got myself ready and went downstairs to wait for them in the lounge. I heard a car pull up, and a few minutes later, the door opened and Mrs. Wilson came in.
Ruby, this is Mr. and Mrs. Thompson.
I looked at them shyly. I had no idea what to say. The lady looked at me kindly.
It's okay, Ruby. Don't be nervous. We're very happy to meet you.
I took an instant liking to her. She seemed so nice and made me relax straight away. Hi.
We would love for you to come and join our family to live with us. Would you like that?
Oh yes, please.
We have 3 daughters who are very much looking forward to meeting you.
Wow, so I'm gonna have 3 sisters?
Yes, you are.
That's amazing. After the first meeting, everything happened so quickly. Mrs. Wilson made all of the arrangements, and before I knew it, I was being driven off in Mr. and Mrs. Thompson's car to go and start my new life with them. As we drove towards their house, my heart was singing with joy. I couldn't believe I'd gotten so lucky. And when we pulled up to the front of their house, my heart leapt even more. The house? Well, not really a house, more of a mansion, was really beautiful. I had no idea they were so rich.
Welcome to your new home, Ruby.
It's amazing. I can't believe I'm going to be living here.
Come on, let's go inside. The girls will be dying to meet you.
I followed Mr. and Mrs. Thompson into the house. When we got inside, a maid came over and took my coat.
The girls are waiting in the lounge, ma'am. Thank you, Daisy. Come on, Ruby, this way.
As soon as Mrs. Thompson opened the lounge, I was bombarded with questions.
What's your name? How old are you? Do you like dogs?
Hold on, girls. Give Ruby time to catch her breath.
I smiled at Mrs. Thompson with relief and sat down on the sofa. As we chatted away, I soon realized that the girls were all really nice and friendly. But I couldn't help feeling sorry for my new sisters. I mean, yeah, they had this wonderful life in their huge house, but they were seriously ugly. You probably think that's a mean thing for me to say, but it was true. One of them had a giant nose like Pinocchio, and one had terrible black teeth, and the other had ears like an actual elephant.
Right, girls, I'm going to make some tea for us all. You get to know each other whilst I'm gone.
The door closed, and I was expecting the girls to carry on chatting away like they'd been doing, but instead they just turned away and ignored me. I tried to strike up a conversation, but they just kept shutting me down.
You don't think we really want to get to know you, do you?
Yeah, we don't need another sister. We have enough already.
I began to feel really sad. I thought they were really nice and happy to have me join their family, but it seems like it had all just been an act in front of their parents. I decided that it was probably best if I kept to myself for a while. Maybe when they got to know me a bit better, then we would be friends. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. Instead, things got even worse for me. It started when I went to school. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson dropped the 4 of us off at the school gates.
Now, girls, the 3 of you need to watch out for Ruby. Make sure to introduce her to everyone so that she settles in quickly.
Of course, Mom. You don't need to worry. We will look after her.
But once again, it was just a show for their parents. As soon as they'd driven off, the 3 girls just ran off, leaving me standing all alone. I walked through the schoolyard and into the building on the other side. I had no idea where I was supposed to go. I just kept walking down the corridor. I really felt like bursting into tears. I felt so lonely. But then suddenly, I heard a voice behind me.
Hello? You're new, aren't you?
I turned around and saw a girl about my age standing there. Yes, I don't know where to go.
Come on, I'll show you. My name's Diane. What's yours?
Ruby. I followed Diane along the corridor into the classroom. After that, the morning went quite well. Diane showed me where everything was and even asked me if I wanted to sit with her at lunchtime. Thank you, that would be so great. But when we got to the canteen, I couldn't see Diane, so I got my lunch and went on to sit down on my own. And that's when I heard them. The other kids were all whispering and talking about me.
Look, that's her.
You know what her sister said?
No, what?
The only reason she's so beautiful is because it's compensation for her being so dumb.
They all started laughing. I could feel the tears welling up and I quickly choked them back. How can my sisters be so mean? What have I done to make them be so horrible to me? I sat there eating my lunch and tried to ignore what I'd heard. But then Diane arrived and sat down next to me.
Cheer up. It might never happen.
Sorry, what?
Well, you look so unhappy. What's the matter?
I hesitated for a minute. I didn't know whether or not to tell Diane what I just heard. But then I figured she would probably hear it from someone else anyway. My sisters have been spreading some mean rumors about me. I told Diane what I'd overheard the other kids saying.
Just ignore them. I definitely don't believe what your sisters have said. I don't think that you're dumb.
Really?
Of course. Anyway, they're probably just jealous of your beauty.
I began to feel a bit better then.
Don't worry what other people think. And anyway, you've got me for a friend.
I smiled at Diane. I knew she was right. As long as I had her as a friend, who cared what other people thought? So from then on, I just ignored everything my sisters said about me. Of course, they tried their best to get everyone to hate me, but they couldn't stop Diane from being my friend. She never believed anything that they said. Now, you're probably wondering why I never told Mr. and Mrs. Thompson about what my sisters were doing. I know I probably should have done, but I didn't want them to think that I was being ungrateful to them for adopting me. And as the weeks went by, I just learned to live with it. And anyway, I had something to look forward to. I joined the prom committee and I was busy helping to organize the upcoming prom. We put posters out all around the school, telling everyone to get their best party clothes ready, as it was going to be the fanciest prom the school had ever held. Everyone was so excited, including my sisters. Eventually, the night of the prom came. I spent all day getting my hair and nails done and doing my makeup. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson came into my room.
Ruby, you look absolutely gorgeous. Now have a fabulous night. We are going out for a business dinner now, but make sure you take a photo once you get your dress on. You can show us tomorrow.
I will. Enjoy your dinner. I took one last look in the mirror and went to my wardrobe to get my prom dress. But as soon as I opened the wardrobe, my heart sank. Oh my god, no! My dress had been torn to shreds. Who did this? I heard my bedroom door open, and it was my 3 sisters.
Oh, Ruby, what a shame. You can't go to the prom. Bye. We'll make sure to tell you all about it.
With that, the three of them walked out, laughing as they went. Oh my god, I am so angry. I want to scream. I'm the one that organized the prom, and now I don't get to go? I laid down on my bed and started crying. Suddenly, I heard a knock at my door.
Ruby? What is it? Why are you crying?
Mrs. Thompson? What are you doing back?
I forgot my purse. What happened?
At first, I wasn't gonna tell her, but in the end, I decided to tell her the truth.
Oh, Ruby, I am so sorry that this happened to you. I had no idea.
It's okay, it's not your fault.
Well, it may not have been my fault, but I am going to be the one to put things right. Wait here.
She left the room and then a few minutes later came back holding a beautiful gold dress.
This is the dress that I wore for my prom. I have kept it for all these years, and now I know the reason why. Here, try it on.
I put the dress on and looked in the mirror. When I saw my reflection, I gasped out loud. It's beautiful. I feel like a princess.
And you look like one too.
Thank you so much.
Come on, get your things. We are taking you to the prom.
As soon as I walked into the prom, everyone stopped what they were doing and just stared at me.
Ruby, you look absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Diane. You do too. As soon as I walked through the room, I suddenly saw my three sisters standing by the food table. When they saw me, their mouths dropped open and they gave me the evilest of looks.
What are you doing here?
Where did you get that dress from?
But before I had time to answer, they picked up some food from the table and hurled it towards me. Luckily, I saw it coming just in time and managed to dodge out of the way.
Hey, stop that right now.
My sisters looked behind me in horror. They hadn't noticed that Mrs. Thompson had been standing behind me all the time.
What do you three think you are doing? I can't believe you have been so mean to Ruby.
They looked at Mrs. Thompson sheepily.
Sorry, Mom. We were just joking.
I looked at Mrs. Thompson. Thank you for dropping me off. I'll be fine. You can go for your dinner now. I didn't speak to my sisters anymore after that. I spent the whole evening dancing with Diane and having the best time in the world. I wasn't going to let my sisters spoil my prom. At the end of the evening, I tried to find my sisters, but it looked like they'd gone home without me.
Don't worry, Ruby. My dad will drop you home.
Thank you, Diane. As soon as I walked into my house, I could hear the voices coming from the lounge.
I am so ashamed of you three. I thought that I brought you up to be nice people. Well, you are going to pay for what you have done. The three of you are grounded for the rest of this term. You won't be getting any new clothes or any money or anything. Do you understand me?
I opened the door and walked into the lounge. I could see by the looks in my sisters' faces that they thought I was there to gloat, but I wasn't. Please don't punish my sisters, they weren't being mean on purpose. It was just teasing, wasn't it? I looked at my sisters and they nodded. We're all good friends, really, aren't we? They all began to nod again.
We're really sorry, Ruby. We shouldn't have been mean to you.
Yeah, it was bad of us. Can we start over and become friends?
Do you think you could forgive us?
I would love for us all to be friends, and of course I can forgive you. In the end, we became the closest of sisters. Pretty crazy, right?
Hi, I'm Pearl from Australia. When I was a kid, it was always my pretty mom and I. She owned a big farm, which I used to love, until one day, a splash of mud from the pig den hit my face, and I went hysterical. I washed my face for so long that Mom's workers got concerned.
Pearl, do you want to scrap your face off for just a splash of mud?
Oh dear, when did you become such a neatnik?
Mom thought it wasn't a big deal, until 5 years later, when we went to a fancy restaurant to celebrate my 10th birthday. My eyes fell to the table when I saw a food smear.
Ew! Don't keep my cake here.
Okay, let's find another table.
No, they're all icky.
And just like that, I began to wipe every available surface. Mom and others couldn't stop me no matter how hard they tried, till I fainted from exhaustion. I was diagnosed with germophobia, an unhealthy fear of germs. Over time, my condition worsened, and people viewed me strangely. But Mom remained my one and only bestie. We still went to her farm together, though I stuck to caring for the flowers. The sight and smell of them made me so happy, and they fetched us money. And then one day at the farm, Mom suddenly came to me in tears.
Mom, what's going on? Pearl, we are about to lose this farm if I don't renew payment for the lease. and I don't have the money.
When no one seemed willing to help us, Mom got the craziest idea.
I saw this guy on a dating app. He's a vet doctor and he is crazy about my beauty. If I marry him, he can support me and we won't lose the farm.
Are you thinking straight, Mom? You can't marry someone for money. Worse, someone from the internet.
He also has no ex-wife, no kids. Perfect, right?
How are you sure of that? You don't even know him in person.
Not for long.
The next day, I came back from school to find muddy footprints everywhere. What in the world? I began to clean my way inside until I ended up in the sitting room where Mom and a strange big head were smooching.
Welcome back, sweetie. Meet your stepdad-to-be, Jack. He just proposed.
You told me about him just yesterday. We were still talking when Jack grabbed my hand just to rudely place a kiss on it.
Nice to finally meet you.
I left them in a hurry to wash my hands. I couldn't believe that Mom would agree to marry a man so rashly. The next morning, I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth, and my anger bubbled further when I saw Jack brushing with my toothbrush. What are you doing? That's my toothbrush!
There wasn't an extra. And after all, we are all going to be family, right?
I felt like punching him all over. What monkey taught you that family means sharing toothbrushes? Before I could finish, Jack loomed over me like a monster.
You holier-than-thou neat freak. Don't worry. I will make you normal the moment I become your stepdad.
What's all the noise about?
The moment he heard Mom's voice, Jack grabbed me in a choking hug.
Nothing. Pearl and I are just getting to know each other.
Aw, how sweet. Breakfast is ready.
The guy was a psycho! I went to school thinking of how I could rescue Mom from Jack. It made me so distracted that during practicals, I missed my footing and fell face first into a pile of manure. My classmates saw it as a perfect time to make fun of me.
Newsflash! Miss Too Clean has just landed in cow poop!
I was on the verge of passing out from the horror of manure on my face when Steve, our class president, came and began to wipe my face clean with antibacterial wipes.
You all right?
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else have something stupid to say?
No one dared to, because as much as Steve was friendly, he wasn't one to be messed with. After school, Steve saw me off, and I felt gooey inside as we walked side by side. Thanks again. Before I could finish, an old woman shoved a picture of a chihuahua in our faces.
Have you guys seen my pup? She has a star under her paw.
I would remember if I saw a cute pup like this.
Me too.
Well, if you do, please call me. I'm Mama G.
I felt really sorry for the woman, so I took the poster to help her look for her pup. On getting home, I was shocked with the sight of Jack throwing pet snacks all over the living room for a pink chihuahua.
Hey, you're back. Got this pup today. Sweet, right?
Leave our house! We can't deal with someone as messy as you!
Too bad. Your mom needs me right now. You can go pop in the popcorn machine for all I care.
I went to get my phone so I could secretly record Jack as he says more nasty things. But when I came back, he was gone with the dog. Jack! Jack! I froze when I noticed the poster torn to shreds on the floor. Why would he do such a thing? Maybe he was the Chihuahua thief. Mom got so mad at me when I told her my suspicions later.
I can see you're just trying to find faults with Jack.
Later, when I eavesdropped on their phone call with Jack, I could hear all sorts of mews and barks from animals.
Hear that? Jack is a vet doctor and has all sorts of pets at his. Stop imagining things.
I went to bed angry because Mom swept everything under the rug. But my anger was quickly forgotten because my own Prince Charming was ready to sweep me off my feet. At school the next day, I was about to sneak to the rooftop where I usually ate alone during lunchtime when somebody blocked my path. Steve!
Where are you off to?
I can't eat in the cafeteria. You have no idea how much of a mess people make when they eat. I can't stand that.
You can if you just look at me. I swear, I eat without spilling.
Arrogant much? He even asked permission for his friends to join us. Sure, why not?
Don't worry, you're gonna like them.
And I did. They were so funny. And for the first time, I was actually having fun with people. After school, Steve asked for us to hang out during the weekend, and I said yes. But Mom had other plans.
I was hoping you and I, plus Jack, could do a little bonding this weekend.
You're the one getting married to Jack, Mom, so you go bond with him. Mom seemed hurt, but I refused to show support for the messy choice she'd made. After that, I decided to take a walk, and as I was enjoying the fresh air, I met Steve on the road.
Hey, what you doing out here?
Just taking a walk. Are you following me?
I can, if you want me to.
Steve was so flirting with me, and I couldn't stop blushing. We decided to go to the arcade from there. The time we spent there was the most fun I'd had in a long time. He even bought me a rose-patterned bracelet.
May I?
I blushed at the sheer sweetness of him putting the bracelet on my wrist.
My germaphobe stepmom coped better when she had reminders of things she loved. You love flowers. Maybe this can be your soothing reminder.
Where have you been all my life?
Huh?
Thank you. Steve and I kept hanging out every weekend after that. He made it so easy to forget Mom, Jack, and my disorder. But there was something I was curious about.
You never talk about your dad.
The moment I asked, anger ripped off him in waves.
You mean the baboon that caused my birth.
He's that ugly?
More like nasty. Jumps from one woman to another. I don't want anything to do with him or anyone close to him.
His mood cut our date short, and I went home regretting I asked about his dad. To make it up to him, the following weekend, I baked him a cake to give to him. But when I got to his house, he was arguing angrily on his porch with Jack!
Ugh, have you no shame? Go back to your stupid new family and stop asking Mom for money. Young man, I'm still your dad.
You're his dad? I could see the unmistakable resemblance now.
Pearl, what are you doing here? You know my father?
I turned on my heel and began to run as fast as my legs could carry me back home, bursting through the doors the moment I reached. Mom, you won't believe... But Mom was staring at a small paper in shock. What's wrong?
I'm pregnant!
What? Jack is not even the guy you think he is! When I was about to tell Mom what I saw, he suddenly appeared at the door.
I have a son.
We turned to see Jack at the door, holding that pink chihuahua and a paper.
What are you saying, Jack?
First, I want you to have this paper and this puppy.
When Mom read the paper, her eyes went wide and she hugged Jack.
You paid for my farmland!
Yes, please, forgive me for lying.
I forgive you!
I was so disappointed with Mom, and I left them angrily. How could she brush off Jack's lie just because of her farmland? When Jack left for God knows where, I confronted her in her room. He could be lying about many other things.
Unless he's a criminal or something, I don't care right now.
But I'm falling in love with his son.
Then fall out of love, honey.
Mom, you're becoming selfish.
No, you're being selfish. You want me to sacrifice my only hope to save my farm for your flimsy teenage romance? In fact, we are getting married this weekend.
I will never accept him as my stepdad, and that thing in your stomach will never be my sibling. I ran out of the house in tears and found myself back at Steve's house.
So, you're part of Jack's new family.
Not if we do something about it. Look, help me out here, just...
Pearl, I was falling in love with you.
Was?
But I told you, I don't want anything to do with him or people he's close to.
Please, if you don't want us to be friends anymore, fine, but help me save my mom from your dad.
No one saved mine from him.
Steve slammed the door in my face and I felt like a zombie. I left. I went to the park and cried my eyes out. My life was just falling apart and I didn't know where to start. Jack had confessed to his lie himself. There was nothing else I had against him. Just then, I heard a noise and watched in disbelief as Jack jumped out of the window of a nearby house with a cat and a dog in hand.
Hurry up, Jay. Try taking them yourselves. Ouch!
He entered the car park nearby and drove off. I went home after that, but I was determined to find out what Jack was up to for Mom's sake. So the next morning, I snuck into his car trunk. He drove for a while and stopped. When the coast was clear, I crept out of the trunk to the side of the shabby shack they entered. I could see an assortment of pets being bathed with dyed water. I took as many pictures as I could and snuck back to show Mom. Mom! You need to see this! Jack's a thief! Mom! Mom wasn't home, but her pet chihuahua was. Hey, cutie, can I see your paw? Her paw had the same star-shaped scar Mama G had spoken of. I took pictures too and called her. Mama G, how do you feel about your chihuahua in pink? She confirmed the puppy was hers and told me she was coming with the police the next day. But the next day was Mom's wedding. The wedding kicked off, and I was on the verge of losing it because Mama G was taking her sweet time. I should have called the police myself.
Does anyone have anything against this couple?
We do!
As if on cue, Mama G stormed in with the police and some others.
This man here pretends to be a vet. To take info on exotic pets he comes back to steal and resell.
Mom was in pieces as Jack was arrested. Despite my efforts to comfort her, she remained mute until Mama G came to visit days later.
Be proud of Pearl. She saved you from getting married to a nonsense man. I am proud of her, all right. Where do I start to take care of Pearl and this baby? I can't use that farm knowing he got the money. Well, I have a few hectares of land to spare. It's a small thanks for bringing back my best pup.
Mama G leased some hectares of land to Mom for free. The best part? Mom decided to raise flowers only and opened a beautiful flower shop she named after me.
You deserve it, Pearl. I got desperate and acted so rashly. Forgive me.
It's okay, Mom. And don't you worry, I will love my kid sister or bro. It's not their fault their dad is a jerk.
Oh, Pearl, I'm so lucky to have you.
When Mom gave birth, it was a beautiful redhead girl like her. And to everyone's shock, I carried her, despite the yuck all over her. I name her Rose. She's as beautiful as one. At school, Steve avoided me, but thanks to him, I had a few people in school I called friends now. So it was a bit shocking when he showed up at our shop one day.
Pearl, I am really sorry for refusing to help. I know I will be asking too much for us to, start again.
To be honest, the fire I had going for him had doused over the months. No hard feelings, but that's a really twisted relationship. I mean, you and I share a sister now.
You're right. Can we at least be friends?
I'll think about it, but maybe. I learned to try and keep a calm head no matter the situation. Otherwise, you may make a very big mistake and never make rash decisions on marrying a stranger from a dating site. Mom was just lucky to have me. Hi, I'm Frida from New York, and this is my story. I've always been a lucky, beautiful child, born to parents who adored me. Dad worked as a scientist for a large corporation, and Mom was a small fashion designer. Our lives were sailing smoothly until Dad's company was robbed by a notorious criminal family, and he was forced to testify against them in court. Because of his brave testimony, the government awarded him a huge sum of money, but at a very dire cost. His testimony landed our lives in danger, and we had to move from one city to another each year. It caused a rift between my parents.
I'm leaving with our child if you move to one more city.
For God's sake, this is the last city. You're safe here.
True to his word, that was the last city we moved to. After 8 years of living there, my parents found their footing in the city and grew popularly wealthy with all the money they made from the court case. And I launched a modeling career that propelled me to stardom because of their influence.
Frida! Frida! Frida!
Everyone loved me, but the thing they loved most was my hair. I had the most perfect red hair. It was long, curly, and soft like silk. But one day, that changed. It all happened the night Dad had been working on a serious project in his lab when I walked in.
Hey, Dad, can I borrow the limo for tonight?
Out of the way, honey. I'm busy.
He walked right into me, spilling the entire glass of his experiment on my hair.
My hair!
I screamed and hurried out of the lab to the bathroom for a deep wash. The events of that night passed by in a blur, but when I woke up the next morning, I had the biggest shock of my life. My beautiful red hair was missing. Dad's chemicals had totally fried all the hair from my head, and Mom went ballistic.
You ruined her perfect hair! You ruined everything! No one will hire her looking like that!
I felt terrible for Dad, but I didn't say anything to help him. After all, he'd ruined my hair.
I know my presence in the house isn't helping, so I'll leave to give you two some space. I'll miss you terribly.
Dad left that day, and we never heard from him again. After a few days without him, I began to feel guilty about his absence from the house. I attempted to contact him, but each call went to voicemail. When I told Mom, she sounded so unconcerned.
Frida, I don't want to hear another word about your father. That man destroys everything he touches.
After that day, I never mentioned Dad again. All I could do was secretly wish for his return. The week after Dad left, I had a professional shoot planned, and Mom made me put on a customized wig, exactly like my hair.
I made this just for you, Frida. Never take it off.
I kissed her goodbye and ran out to meet my super hot, wealthy boyfriend, Davies. He was my partner for the shoot.
Something for my princess?
Oh my god, it's so pretty.
He was also a really sweet boyfriend. He got me so many expensive gifts, I could barely keep count.
I
love it! The necklace was too heavy for my neck, but I endured the weight. I'd do anything for him because he's so perfect.
My name complements your skin so well.
During the shoot, everyone couldn't stop admiring how great Davies and I were together.
You two look like the perfect power couple. Now, stroke Frida's hair gently.
Davies did as he was told, but I felt my wig coming off and stopped the shoot immediately with a lie.
I think I have a headache.
Let me take you home, babe.
Davies' chauffeur drove us home, and during the drive, I felt it was time to confront Davies with the truth. I held his hand and looked him in the eyes with all the love I could muster as I said,
Babe, would you still love me if I changed?
How?
Like, say, I grew a mustache or extra legs or...
He placed his hand on mine and looked at me with concern.
Your hands are shaking, babe. Tell me, what is it?
The soothing way he spoke to me gave me all the confidence I needed, and I spilled the truth.
I lost my hair.
I took off my wig and explained everything to him, but to my shock, Davies instantly switched. He snatched his arm from mine and moved away like I was a monster.
What happened to your beauty, Freda?
I couldn't believe he reacted this way, since I always believed that true love should always be kind.
I think we should break up. I can't be seen with you looking like that.
So you never loved me?
Oh, come on, Freda. You know we're together because we're perfect for the media. And now what's the point?
You're a jerk, Davies, and I never want to see you again. Here's your stupid, heavy, fake necklace.
I hurled the necklace at him, and then I angrily stopped the car and found my own way back home. Breaking up with Davies had taken a toll on me. I refused to go anywhere until I got my hair back. Every morning, I'd look in the mirror hoping to see some improvement, but there was none. Mom had to drive me to several top hospitals.
The hair follicles are completely damaged. I'm afraid there's nothing we can do.
Over time, I had to learn to live without my hair. I became reliant on wigs, wearing them to every fashion event and show. Nobody could tell the difference. One day, after walking the runway for the New York Fashion Week, I received a call from a strange number. I excused myself to pick it up.
Hey, babe.
It was Davies!
Don't even think about it. If you don't want your secret exposed.
I'd rather eat rocks than be scared of you, Davies.
Really? I wonder what everyone will say once they find out you've been lying to them about your hair.
What do you want? Spill it!
$500,000 delivered to me in cash.
What do you need $500,000 for?
It's none of your business, princess. I'll send the location to you, and I expect to see you in an hour.
He hung up the call before I could say anything, and I headed back to the red carpet with a fake smile. When I finished with the paparazzi, I called my manager for the money. I went to the location with it. When I met Davies, I noticed he looked different.
Where's the money?
Tell me what you need it for.
He looked around like we weren't the only ones there. It scared me.
Quit joking around and give it to me.
He snatched the briefcase from my grasp and hurried away. Not even a thank you. I drove away from the scene, angry at him for blackmailing me. But as time passed, I became so preoccupied with shoots and interviews that I completely forgot about him. Then school resumed, and I was swarmed by a horde of obsessed students on the first day.
Oh my god, Freda! I want to be exactly like you. What do you use on your skin?
Someone suddenly grabbed my arm, yanking me away from the crowd. It was a girl I'd never seen before. She wore enormous glasses.
Pardon me, but I noticed you needed saving. I did. You're like an angel sent from heaven. Thank you. I'm Mindy, and I'm new here. What's your name?
I'm Freda.
Glad to make your acquaintance, Freda.
You could just say friend, you know.
I wouldn't want to profess intimate conversance with your person so early.
I just knew she was a big nerd with all that word salad. I nodded along like I understood her.
By the way, would you mind showing me around?
Of course. As I showed Mindy around the school, we talked about a lot of things and instantly clicked. She became my best friend. One time, we were on our way to the gym when we bumped into Davies, the last person on Earth I wanted to see.
Well. If it isn't the princess and her new crony.
Don't speak about my friend like that! Can't you leave me alone?
Remember, I know your secret, Baldy.
Only because I told you. Don't act like it's a groundbreaking discovery you made yourself, pea-brain.
Speaking about pea-brains, I have an assignment for you.
If it's money to do whatever shady thing you're up to,
You and I know you've taken more than that from me.
What do you mean taken? I didn't ask you to spend money on me.
This is different. I need you to do my school assignments.
Before I knew it, he dropped a hefty sack of books into my arms. And as if that wasn't enough, he audaciously brought his face close to mine as he said,
Also, my lips have missed yours. I'm sure yours have as well.
I'd rather make out with a piece of wood than you.
Why don't we check that out?
Before I could react, Mindy's arm came from behind me and punched him in the face, throwing him back. She stood in front of me like my knight in shining armor.
You dal cop! You have no right to kiss a lady against her will!
Davy's face went red with embarrassment. He got up, about to attack her, when some students rushed out of the gym in front of us.
I'll get you for that!
As soon as Davies left, I turned to Mindy and hugged her.
Thank you. What does dal cop mean anyway?
Oh, it's just a silly old English word for a stupid person.
You could have just called him an idiot.
Sorry, seeing the buffoon mess with you made me really mad.
I thought about telling Mindy my secret as well, but I decided to keep it to myself. I wasn't ready to lose another friend, and Mindy was a great friend. I took her to all my fashion events, and we raided my closet together whenever she visited the house.
I like this!
That's my mom's signature diamond gown. It's the only one in existence.
Ooh, sounds expensive. I'll put it back.
Well, you can have any other clothes you want. I gave Mindy a makeover, and when we showed up to school that morning, everyone was drooling all over us. The school year came to an end, and I received an email from a famous fashion brand asking me to model for them and inviting me to their show in France.
$1 million every month? This is the request of a lifetime!
I invited her on the trip, and together we began to plan for it. But one day, I got the most shocking news from the fashion brand canceling their offer. They claimed I had sent them an email offering my spot to a model named Elaine Holt, whom I had never met. Someone was obviously attempting to sabotage me. This has to be Davy's handiwork. He's the only one with access to my emails. I headed home and gave Mom the news, leaving out the part of Davy's blackmailing me. And she gave me a brilliant suggestion.
You should go to France. If the organizers see you, they'll want you back.
I quickly packed up my suitcase and flew to France. The model show was that night, so I styled myself in a pretty red dress and showed up at the event. And you wouldn't believe who I saw. It was Mindy, dressed in Mom's signature diamond gown. She was without her glasses and looked so different. And she was with Davies. Anger filled my body as I walked over to them.
If it isn't the two little thieves! Took you time to finally find us out, huh? Pretending to be your friend was so exhausting. And all that English was hurting my mouth. Also, thank you for the gown.
So you're together?
Together? No, she is my sister.
I don't understand.
Suddenly, a woman who looked exactly like Davies walked into our conversation.
Frida, it's nice to meet you again. We've never met. We have, child. Years ago, when your silly father gave that testimony against my family in court, stealing everything from us, we went into debt. And Elaine here came up with the brilliant suggestion of Davies dating you. We're going to steal everything from you, just like you did to us.
Mindy was Elaine? That was when it dawned on me. She was the one who stole my deal.
But Davies was losing his grip, so I had to step in.
You know, I'm still not over that punch you gave me.
Oh, get over it, big head.
I blanked into pure rage and attacked Mindy. We both landed on the floor, drawing everyone's attention. In the midst of the fight, Davies stepped in and pulled off my wig, revealing my bald head to everyone.
Everyone, Frida is an imposter.
That silly girl attacked my child for confronting her about her lies. Throw her out!
I was thrown out of the event, and I flew back home in disgrace. When I got home, I was surprised to find Dad. When he saw me, he opened his arms for a hug, and I ran into them with tears in my eyes.
Oh, Dad! I've missed you so much.
I've missed you more, honey.
I was so overcome with emotions that I started spilling everything that happened.
Those criminals finally found us. This is all my fault, honey. I'll fix this.
Meanwhile, word of my fake hair went viral. Companies were canceling invitations to me. I couldn't go anywhere without being followed by the paparazzi. But one day, Dad came up with a plan.
Honey, I need you to find a way to make Davies or Elaine confess on tape to their crimes.
That night, I called Davies for a meetup with the pretext that I wanted to apologize for my family.
Finally realized your mistakes?
Yes, and I'm sorry for everything my family did to yours. Saying the words to him was so difficult, but I needed to put on the facade for just a short while until he confessed.
You're not upset about me blackmailing you? And Elaine, posing as your friend to steal your spot in the model show.
Bingo! You know what? I'm angry, and you and your sister can eat dirt for all I care. My switch in attitude startled him, and I smiled as I walked away. As soon as I got home, I gave Dad the recorder, and the next day, he came into my room with big news.
Davies and his family have just been arrested.
I threw myself against him in a hug, and Mom suddenly walked in with remorse written all over her face.
I have something to say. I'm sorry for the way I treated you, darling. I'm sorry for taking your father away from you. Will both of you ever forgive me?
Come here, baby.
Dad opened his arms wide, and Mom joined in the hug. The news of Davies and Elaine's arrest spread quickly. Suddenly, I began to receive modeling offers again. My fan base grew, and everyone felt bad for how I was blackmailed. Bald models reached out to me, giving me encouraging words. I confidently stopped wearing my wigs and began to appear to more shows in my natural state. I even received several awards, proceeds of which I donated to charity. I dedicate this award to everyone like me who is still trying to come to terms with their real self. There was one thing I learned in all of this, and that was to love myself no matter my flaws. I wasn't made to be perfect. I was made to be me.
Turn around, sweetie. Yes, just like that.
Can I go now, Daddy?
Just a few more shots, honey. We are almost done.
Hi, my name is Tasha, and this is the story of my crazy life. From the moment I was born, I was doomed. My parents set their eyes on me and saw nothing but a beautiful baby they could use to make lots of bucks with. They signed me onto a modeling agency as soon as I could walk, and I wasn't allowed to do much else than pose for crazy photos all the time.
I'm hungry, Mom. Can you stop the stupid photos and give me some food?
That was my older sister by 1 year, Morgan. For some reason, I didn't understand then why she was always super angry. She threw tantrums anytime she was present during my photo shoots.
Oh, Morgan, just a little more. We need to have perfect shots for your cute sister.
Suddenly, I felt something cold all over the front of my beautiful dress. I looked down to see the mango juice Morgan had been sipping all over my body.
Morgan, why would you do that?
I'm hungry. She's making me wait.
That's it. You're grounded, young lady.
I couldn't even be angry with her because her actions successfully ended the photo shoot. But over time, my sister just continued to be a big meanie.
Oh, look. Bimbo is reading. Are you even allowed to do that?
Stop that. And I am not a bimbo.
But guess what? That's what girls like you who don't know anything else but twist around like a snake for a camera are known as.
You just can't accept that I am pretty as well as smart. Just then, Morgan jumped at me and we began to fight like cats. Thankfully, my mom came and separated us.
Oh my God. Morgan, look at the big gash you got on your sister on her face. Go into your room and don't come out until you are ready to say sorry.
Morgan never did, and my parents had to give up and let her out or else she'd starve. At school and everywhere else, everyone was the same way as my parents about my looks. People would stare at me and sing praises for my looks.
What a cute button nose.
Look at her skin. How clear.
Hi, can I take a picture? I would love you to be my screensaver.
My life seemed to be constantly in the spotlight, and it annoyed me to no end. Fact was, by the time I turned 12, I was more than certain that being a model wasn't what I wanted to be. But Mom and Dad wouldn't hear of it. They had me doing so many different modeling shoots and campaigns that school was beginning to take a back seat. My parents wouldn't even let me eat any junk food, so I didn't get fat.
Oh, honey, a hamburger? Throw it away right now. It's greasy and will ruin your skin.
One hamburger won't hurt, Mom.
A flood starts with a drop of rain, dear. Listen to your mother and throw that away.
You can give it to Morgan.
Oh yes, throw it into the dustbin, otherwise known as me.
My turning point came when I turned 13. Mom and Dad threw a big party for me, but when I unveiled the cake, my jaw dropped to the ground. A freaking watermelon! Instead of the yummy cake I was expecting, my parents got a watermelon.
Honey, a cake is nothing but a trap full of calories. This is much healthier and…
Embarrassed tears filled my eyes and I cut her off. I am done! I'm not doing this anymore! This modeling stuff, I hate it! I've had enough! To their horror, I grabbed the knife I was supposed to use to cut the watermelon and sliced off a chunk of my hair.
Oh my God, she finally lost it! Her hair is like a duck's butt!
My parents and the other guests were still speechless with shock, but I ignored them and went to my room where I shaved off all of my hair. The next day, I came downstairs wearing the baggiest clothes ever. My parents begged me like their lives depended on it with a truckload of cake.
Dear, you could eat all the cake in the world you want. It's okay if you get fat. You're still pretty. And there are fat models.
I will eat all the cake in the world, but I am never going back to modeling. I want to be a doctor, Dad.
A doctor? Oh dear, you will be touching blood and stuff. No. Please reconsider. If it's the hair, you could wear a wig.
Nope. No way. Mind made up.
Don't worry, Mom. I'll be your new model.
My eyes almost fell out of their sockets when we turned to look at Morgan. She was dressed in one of my designer clothes, hair made into a tight braid, and face full of makeup.
Is that you, Morgan?
The makeup helped a lot, but who knew you had it in you?
I felt sorry for Morgan with the way my parents rushed over to her, taking pictures of her and asking her to turn this way and that. Morgan caught my eye and smirked as if she had won a trophy. Well, I certainly wasn't jealous. I was free as a bird. I wore wigs to school till I got to the 10th grade. Then I convinced my parents to transfer me to another school so I could really start afresh. Morgan insisted she switch schools with me just to show off, and my parents agreed. She was in the 11th grade.
Watch how I become the queen of our new school. No one will even notice you.
Honestly, that would be a relief. I'd appreciate the break for once. Go ahead.
Shut up, you four-eyed baldy.
Actually, my scalp was full of hair now, but Morgan kept calling me a baldy. I had also taken to wearing glasses just to disguise myself further. I ignored her and focused on my studies. At my new school the next day, I was surprised to see that no one seemed to recognize me. A few glances came my way, but no one tried to suffocate me asking for autographs. Students, however, flocked to Morgan, who was by now a fast rising model, and she soaked in the attention.
Hi, I'm a big fan of yours. Can we take a selfie?
Well, since you are a fan, I will grant you that privilege.
I was really happy to be out of the spotlight at school and hurried off to my class.
Class, this is our new student. Her name is Tasha.
Oh no! I couldn't let the class know my full name! Tasha Smart! My name is Tasha Smart! The teacher shot me a weird look for taking my family name, but thankfully he kept quiet. I threw myself into my books, thwarting any attempts from anyone to befriend me. But after 2 weeks in my new school, I met someone who stole my breath. I was coming out of the library when I ran smack into someone. When I got a look at him, I gasped. He looked like all these hot male characters from my favorite animes.
I know I am hot, but can you try not to bump into me next time you want me to notice you?
What?
Girls, very desperate set of creatures.
Every atom of attraction I felt for him died on the spot with his rudeness. Well, not every atom per se. At home, I couldn't stop thinking about the handsome guy I bumped into. I was struggling to focus on my studies when my sister barged into my room.
You witch! What were you doing with my Nick?
What are you talking about?
My minions saw you with him at the library. They said you were about to kiss him.
Oh, so the rude guy from earlier is Nick. Do your friends know you call them minions?
Doesn't matter. They will still worship me regardless. Stay away from Nick. He's in my class, and he's mine.
I felt my eyebrow tick in annoyance, but I forced myself to be calm. I wasn't going to let my sister rile me up and distract me from my studies. In school, my grades were getting really high, and teachers and students alike began to notice me for it. It was much better than being noticed for something as superficial as beauty.
Hey, Tasha, you're so brilliant. Would you want to take part in a science competition?
What? That was the ticket to achieving my dreams faster! I quickly said yes!
Great. You'll be studying with our other brilliant student, Nick.
Nick! It turned out that prior to me coming to the school, Nick was the one excelling most in school. He looked me over when I met him in the library as instructed by the teacher. Gosh, he really was so handsome.
Ugh, not again. Go away! Shoo, I'm expecting someone. No time for fangirls.
And very rude. Unfortunately for you, Nick, I am the one you are expecting. And no, I am no fangirl of yours. You seem to be so desperate for one that you pinned the title on any girl unfortunate enough to bump into you. That shut him up, and he finally focused on the task we had together. But truly, Nick was popular amongst the girls. Even at the library, girls would hardly let him breathe in peace, but Nick knew just how to give it to them.
Oh, Nick, could you check my temperature? I think I'm running a fever.
I believe you know where the first aid room is. Or are you blind too? Nick, there is a spider on my desk. Please come and save me. Spiders make good seatmates.
He was actually funny, and at a point I couldn't help but start laughing at his attitude with the pestering girls. No wonder he seemed to hate me from the start. When we were done studying, I turned to pack up, but Nick stopped me.
Tasha, I'm sorry about earlier. I just made my usual assumption about a girl, which, by the way, hadn't failed me until now. Can I apologize by taking you out for ice cream?
Oh boy, could today get any better? I pretended to consider it for a moment so as not to give him the impression of being all over him. I can spare some minutes. I think I have done all the studying I need for today. He smiled and I almost fainted. He had dimples! How much prettier could a boy get?
Let's go.
When I went back home, Morgan was fuming.
You? How dare you go out on a date with Nick?
I just went to get ice cream with him. It wasn't a date.
But you would like it to be right? You love him, don't you?
Like I was going to answer that. Can you just leave me alone? You're a model now. Aren't you happy? Sure, she wasn't a big shot model like I was before, but I thought she would finally be off my back to at least be one. Instead, she seemed to be getting more and more frustrated.
Oh, just you wait. I'm only just starting. I have a modeling gig by next month, and if I bag this, I will win millions of dollars and I will make sure you don't get a penny. I bet you this. When I become a big shot model, even guys like Nick would beg to date me.
With all my heart, I wish you the best. Nick and I continued studying together, and we kept drawing closer together. One day, we were going through some chemical formulas together when his phone beeped. He opened it and gasped.
Tasha, is this you?
My mouth went dry when I saw the picture he was showing me. It was one of my pictures as a model from an unsaved number I quickly identified as Morgan's.
You are Tasha Williams, the famous model who suddenly went MIA.
I quit for a reason, Nick. Can you bring your voice down?
Why did you quit?
I didn't want to be a model, okay? I love maths and science. I want to study and become a doctor. Walking on runways, staying up to date with the latest fashion, and not eating what I love for fear of getting fat. It's just not what I wanted. I want to live a life like a normal girl.
Whoa.
I know I'm not as fancy or fashionable as when I was a model, but I will never go back to that. To my surprise, he beamed at me.
Trust me, I completely understand. It must not have been easy to quit.
It definitely wasn't.
Tell me about it.
I began to tell him the crazy drama that took place when I quit, and Nick laughed all the way through, especially when I told him about the watermelon cake. Morgan's attempt to break us up actually backfired, and soon we started dating. His personality was much better than what I had previously thought of him, and so when he asked me to be his girlfriend, I said yes. Soon, the competition came around. We answered question after question, and we were declared winners. We won for our school. Mom, Dad, I won the competition! Nick and I won!
Oh, honey, aren't you the prodigy? Winning everything you set your mind to. I'm so proud of you.
If only Morgan would be the same. She lost the gig we worked hard to get her. I am sure you would have won if it was you.
It was then that I noticed Morgan in the corner, and she looked like she'd been crying. But when our eyes met, she clenched her jaw and ran to her room. Mom, Dad, I think you owe Morgan an apology. She worked so hard to impress you, but you're always letting her down. Stop comparing her to me. My parents immediately looked remorseful. I will talk to Morgan. I followed Morgan to her room, and she was sobbing like I had never seen before.
Why am I such a big loser? You've stopped modeling. You wear the ugliest clothes and nerdy glasses. You're not as popular as I am now yet. You're so happy, and I'm not. Even the school's prince is always hanging out with you. You're pretty, you're smart. What am I supposed to do?
But Morgan, you are pretty and smart too. Boys fall over themselves for you. Or does it have to be Nick? Do you really like him, or is it because you noticed I do?
Because I noticed you do.
You see, you're always competing with me. If you can focus on yourself and think of what really makes you happy, I am sure you will see a big difference.
Oh, I think you're right. Truth be told, I really hate this modeling stuff.
Finally, something we have in common.
I'm sorry, Tasha. I've been a horrible sister. You deserve every good thing because you're so hardworking. Can you forgive me?
Trust me, I have never had a grudge against you. We hugged each other tight. What do you say we watch some Storytime animated videos to pass the time?
Sounds like fun. Hey, my name's Amanda, and I'm from Alaska. I don't have much time to write this, so I'll jump right into the juicy stuff. A brick came loose from the wall. I watched it shatter and knew that would be my skull if I wasn't careful. I knew cutting my hair was a bad idea. I could be pulling a Rapunzel right now. Wait, this doesn't make any sense. Do you want to know how I ended up escaping a tower? Then stick around. I never excelled at school. I used to take naps in class, and one time I even snuck out the window to go get food. Those were the days. But one day, I got called into the principal's office.
I won't lie to you, Amanda. Your grades are horrific.
He said with furrowed brows.
I'm assigning you a tutor.
Before I could protest, he shoved me out of his office. Not that I wanted to stay in there any longer, it always smelled like cheese. Later that day, I sat in the school library waiting for my tutor to show up. I didn't even notice him when he arrived. He was as quiet as a mouse.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Michael.
He flashed me a dashing smile. He was kind of good looking, but not exactly my type. Hi.
Where's your pens and books?
I don't have any.
What?
Then he stood up out of nowhere and grabbed my hand. He dragged me into his car, and suddenly we were strutting up to a huge school supply store. When we walked in, Michael swept his arms around the whole store.
It's all yours.
Huh?
I booked this store for the day. Whatever you want, take it. My treat.
Sure enough, I looked around and saw the whole place was empty. Was this guy for real? I shrugged, then headed off into the store. I must have filled 3 shopping carts with random school supplies. I felt so cool, like a VIP. This must be what celebrities feel like. I was in awe.
You liked it?
I loved it.
Good to know.
Michael paid for all my stuff, and we went back to school to study. He started showering me with gifts after that. I pretty much became his dress-up doll, but I wasn't complaining. I loved getting showered with gifts. Besides, my parents would never buy me all this expensive stuff. They weren't even around. They had been gone for 2 whole days. We got kicked out of the library when school closed.
How about we continue at my place? It's more comfortable than this dump anyways.
I said sure, and Michael took my hand. To my surprise, he led me to a dirty alley behind the school. He pulled out his phone and put in some sort of code. Suddenly, the huge pile of trash in front of us slid to the side, revealing a trap door. Michael opened it and jumped in. I followed suit. The little room we were in looked like the back of a limo, super luxurious. I heard this whirring sound, then I felt like we were moving, but at the same time not. The roof opened up and Michael climbed out. He helped me out and I almost passed out from what I saw in front of me. We were transported somewhere else, far from school. You live in a mansion?
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
A man and a woman in uniform ran out and grabbed our bags. Michael tossed them his keys and gave me a tour of his huge mansion. How'd you get the money for this place?
Well, I know my way around the internet, and some powerful people would rather keep me rich and quiet than poor and talkative, if you know what I mean.
He winked at me. What's in there? I pointed at a tiny door with a huge lock on it.
Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
I cringed when he called me that. Should we get to work?
Let's eat first.
Michael grabbed my hand again. He did that a lot, now that I think of it. I should have known. We walked outside. The sight in front of me was beautiful. There was a gazebo with a candlelit dinner. Michael sat down and asked the lady servant,
"What's on the menu, Mom?"
I thought it was a bit weird that his mom and dad were acting like servants. Man, I should have ran out there and then, but I didn't. Can we go study now?
Fine.
We walked back indoors, and behind huge wooden doors was the biggest library I had ever seen. It was straight out of a fairy tale. We only studied for like 15 minutes before Michael suggested we take a break. He grabbed my hand. Again. Yuck. He pulled me into a gigantic room. It was a ballroom with chandeliers and all of that fancy stuff. The male servant that I assumed was his dad was sitting at a grand piano. He started playing swiftly when we walked in.
Dance with me.
Michael tried to swing me around, but I didn't cooperate. He tried again and again. It was suffocating. I don't want to dance. Get off me. I shoved him away. The look on his face changed completely. There was rage in his eyes.
Why do you have to be so difficult? Why can't you just love me?
He yelled. I backed away in fear. He saw this and changed back into his normal self in less than a second. Creepy.
It's getting late. Why don't you get some rest and we'll continue tomorrow?
Can't I just go home?
No, we should start early tomorrow, so just sleep here.
He snapped his fingers and his mom came in. He gestured at me to follow her and led me to a bedroom bigger than my entire apartment. I fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow, like something on it had made me pass out. I woke up all of a sudden and looked around. I wasn't in the luxurious bedroom anymore. I was in this tiny, dark room. I ran to the only window. I almost passed out when I saw I was 70 feet in the air. A tower? Seriously? How rich is this psychopath? There was a knock on the door and Michael walked in holding a candlestick.
I'm not a bad guy, I just know better than you, Amanda. You will stay here until you realize I'm the perfect man for you.
You do realize this is real life, right? You can't do this to me. People will wonder where I am. He cackled and said,
Please, not even your parents care what happens to you.
What is that supposed to mean?
How much do you think I had to pay them to leave?
My stomach dropped. They fully left me? It wasn't just for 2 days? They weren't coming back? You're lying.
I'm the only person on this planet that cares about you. Here, I'll let you see for yourself.
He put the candlestick down and left, locking the door behind him. I grabbed the candlestick but almost dropped it in shock immediately. The walls were covered from floor to ceiling in pictures. Pictures of me. Sleeping, eating, shopping. There wasn't an activity he hadn't taken pictures of. He was obsessed with me. I needed to get out of there. I climbed out the window and onto the roof. I was terrible at regular school, but I was the best at PE, and the rock wall was my favorite. I began climbing down the side of the tower. A brick came loose from the wall. I watched it shatter and knew that would be my skull if I wasn't careful. I knew cutting my hair was a bad idea. I could be pulling a Rapunzel right now. When I reached the ground, my troubles weren't over. You've got to be kidding me. A moat? The moat was too wide for me to jump over. I needed something to boost myself in the middle. I hope that's the reason why I wasn't scared when a crocodile suddenly swam to the surface and looked at me. If that's not why, I'm concerned for my mental health. The crocodile was my way out. I grabbed a piece of the fallen brick and chucked it to the other side of the moat. The crocodile turned around and attacked the brick, which was my window. I took a deep breath and jumped right onto its back. Then I boosted myself and jumped to safety on the other side. I always loved parkour. I ran into the thick forest surrounding Michael's property. Suddenly, I heard a whoosh, and something hit the tree right next to my head. Tranquilizer darts!
You can't run forever, Amanda.
I heard over a megaphone. Somehow, I kept running until my legs burned. I ran for days. I hunted squirrels and learned to catch fish with my bare hands. I heard howling at night, so I climbed up trees to sleep. After weeks, when my clothes were full of mud and I had bug bites and rashes, I finally found a safe place. There was an abandoned cabin in a clearing right next to a huge river. I had a feeling Michael would find me eventually, so I used everything in the cabin to prepare for the day he did. I woke up one night to a voice over a megaphone saying,
I found you. Come out now.
I strutted outside confidently. Michael stood there with a team of guards. You did manage to teach me something, I laughed. Michael looked so annoyed at the moat I had made around the cabin. It was easy to make. I just diverted the river nearby. Piece of cake.
Get over here. I'm taking you home.
I refuse to be your prisoner, I yelled.
You'll learn to love me.
Leave me alone. I don't want you in my life. Michael refused to leave. He knew I'd bolt the second he was out of sight. I walked back into the cabin and returned holding a box of matches. You see how the cabin is wet, but it hasn't rained in days? I lit a match and gestured at my little island.
What are you doing? Put those away.
I don't ever want to see you again, I said. This way, I won't have to. Michael screamed, No! As I dropped the match and lit the gasoline surrounding my cabin. I wonder if the previous owner had something like this in mind, because seriously, there were barrels of gasoline in the basement.
Amanda, my love, no!
As he cried for me, I snuck back into the cabin. The plan worked. I had faked my death successfully. I hope. I ran into the basement and pushed a barrel aside. I crawled into the tunnel hidden underneath. holding my makeshift sled under my arm. The moat wasn't the only thing I used the river for. I had made myself a little underground river inspired by Michael's transportation system between school and the mansion. Neat, huh? Soon enough, I reached the end of my tunnel. I climbed up the little cave and inhaled the cool night breeze. Freedom! Just as the map in my cabin said, I was across the border. I could have escaped earlier, but I needed Michael to think I was dead. He is a powerful hacker, but even he can't find a ghost. I still avoid electronics because, believe me, he sees everything.
Avery, I sent $10,000 to your account. You need to leave your current location because I think someone spotted you.
What?
There's a random picture of you online. Conspiracy theorists are starting to say all kinds of things. That you were abducted by aliens, that your mom locked you up somewhere, and now that you're hiding for some kind of crime. People will come up with anything. You just have to stay out of the spotlight until we can go ahead with our plan.
Okay, Sandra, I'll leave now. Thanks for telling me.
You're welcome. Oh, and put on a red wig or something so that people don't notice you.
You might be wondering who Sandra is. She's my celebrity mom's assistant. You might also be wondering what our plan is. Well, we're going to sue my mom, get her thrown into prison, and take all her money. Why? Because she's the absolute worst human being on the planet. And if you don't believe me, you definitely will as I continue my story. Just make sure you keep watching. When I was very young, my parents divorced and I stayed with my mom. But I was raised by her assistants all my life as she was too busy to ever look after me. It's okay though. They were fun. And I had lots of cool stuff. The best room a girl could imagine, all the latest toys. I went to a private school, so unlike many celebrities' kids, I had a social life and friends who were fun to play with. Everyone always made a huge fuss over my mom though, and apart from her assistants and my friends, no one paid much attention to me. I think it's because I was a very average-looking kid. Or maybe I was just boring. I don't know. I didn't think too much of it until I was a teenager and I was invited to a talk show with my mom.
Wow, you have such a lovely daughter. How come we've never heard much about her before?
Well, I tried to keep her away from the public eye, but even when I took her outside, no one really noticed.
It appears that she's blossomed quite beautifully. Avery, what's it like having a celebrity for a mom?
It's cool, I guess. Everyone in the crowd cheered like I had said something so important. That night, I was trending on Twitter. People were sharing my picture and referring to me as a hidden treasure. They wanted to know my hair care routine, facial care routine, everything. The truth was that I didn't have any of those. I couldn't understand what they were making a fuss about, and I wasn't used to that level of attention at all. I went to stand in front of a mirror and I examined myself. It was true, I looked nothing like I did when I was a child. I was 16 years old now and I was drop-dead gorgeous. My hair was long and shiny, my skin was smooth and radiant, and I had the most beautiful eyes imaginable. My body was perfect too, and I hope I don't sound like I'm boasting, but it's true. The next day, we received calls from loads of popular clothing brands offering me free clothes, and one of them even offered me a modeling contract. We accepted the clothes, of course, but my mom said that I had to focus on school and that modeling wasn't for a girl like me. I started an Instagram account and instantly got millions of followers. It was no trouble for me to get that blue tick. But after about a week or so of fame, I noticed that my mom was starting to seem annoyed. She didn't want to talk to me at all, and I don't know why. I thought that maybe she was just having a bad day, but she became stranger and stranger every day. For example, one day when I got back from school, she was trying on some of my clothes. When she saw me walk in, she pulled a few outfits from the closet and left the room. And this was how she started wearing trendy teen clothes. She had one of her assistants take hundreds of pictures of her and she posted some to her social media pages. Eventually, she started talking to me again, but it was to ask the weirdest things. One afternoon, I was sitting in the living room watching a movie when she broke her silence.
How much do you weigh?
When I told her the answer, she gasped and looked like she was going to cry. The next day, she informed everyone that I was on a strict diet and that all carbs and sugars had to be thrown away. Even my ice cream. I can't live without ice cream. Oh my gosh. Luckily, one of her assistants brought a mini fridge to my room and I was able to keep as much junk food as I wanted. It gets worse though. I was playing on my phone after school when I got a notification from my friend Bella. She sent me an article that was published that day. The title went something like, "Who is hotter, Gregoria or her daughter Avery. The results are in. It's definitely Gregoria. A hot picture of my mom was posted next to what looked like a photoshopped picture of me. And I looked awful. I read all the way to the end and saw that I was written by a journalist who was actually her friend. Could she have asked him to write that? I didn't want to believe my own mother would do something like that to me. But when I got home, I realized that it really was her. I went up to her room and showed her the article, but she was on the phone with her manager. I decided to stand outside until she was finished, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to listen to.
Of course I had that article released. Avery's becoming a sensation, and I can't allow it to happen. She can't become more popular than me. It will sabotage me. What do you mean I'm getting old and I'm not the hottest thing around anymore? That's ridiculous. She will never be more beautiful than me, and if you think so, you're just delusional. I can fire you and find a new manager, you know?
She hung up and I walked in and just stared at her in shock. Mom?
Honey, I can explain.
But I didn't wait for an explanation. I slammed the door and went to my own room. The next morning, she was nowhere to be found. I asked one of her assistants and she told me that she found one wrinkle next to her eye and nearly had a nervous breakdown, so she was somewhere having plastic surgery. That made me laugh a lot. I decided to walk to school that day, and while I was on my way, a random man stood in front of me and took my picture. By the time I reached school, I was trending on Twitter again. Has celebrity Gregoria lied about Avery's looks? And the picture that weird guy took that morning was everywhere. Some of my classmates started taking pictures and posted them on their own social media pages, and lots of people shared them. So obviously, my mom was fuming, but I tried to stay out of her way as much as I could. I started getting calls from people who wanted me to star in their advertisements or movies, but I knew my mom would never give her consent. I just wanted to be out of the spotlight, to be honest. But every single time I stepped out of the house, people would start taking my picture and everyone on the internet would be going on and on about how beautiful they thought I was. I thought that maybe I could consider the celebrity life after I became an adult and moved away from my mom. Anyway, my mom realized that since she couldn't lie about me not being beautiful, she would try to make it a reality, and you'll never believe what she did next. Now, I'm a really heavy sleeper, so there could be a riot happening outside and I wouldn't know. I woke up one morning and I didn't feel like myself. I wasn't sure what was wrong, but I was convinced that something was off. I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth, and when I looked in the mirror, I screamed. One of my mom's assistants, Sandra, came running in.
What's wrong, dear? Oh my gosh, what happened?
I woke up like this. It's awful. Just then, my mom walked in holding a ponytail with my long hair flowing beneath. Why did you cut my hair, Mom? I look like a boy now.
There's only one pretty person in this house, and it's not you.
She left, and I burst into tears.
Don't worry, Avery, it'll grow back. For now, you can wear wigs. They make them really well these days. We can get one that looks just like your normal hair,
Sandra said while trying to comfort me. And this did work for a while. I actually had fun experimenting with different wigs. I wore all different colors, pink, neon yellow, red, purple, and my hair slowly grew back. I was still quite popular, and many girls decided that they were into wigs now that I'd made them popular. But do you think my mom stopped there? Of course she didn't. For a few weeks, I noticed that I was gaining weight and that I was getting weird zits all over my face. I even went to a doctor about it, but she couldn't find anything wrong.
Have you changed your diet in any way?
She asked. I thought for a while, but then it hit me. I hadn't changed my diet at all, but could my mom be putting something in the food? That night, I decided to check the security camera footage because we had cameras in all the rooms in our house. I saw my mom adding a white, powdery substance to all my food. Sometimes she'd add it in my breakfast smoothies, and other times she'd just sprinkle it over dinner after the chef had done cooking. I couldn't believe it. Well, to be honest, at this point, I could. She really wanted to ruin me. I went up to my room to think, what if I leaked this to the press? Everyone would hate her for sure. But then what would happen to me if she was sent to jail? Just as I was lost in my thoughts, Sandra walked into my room looking worried.
Listen, Avery, I just found out that your mom is planning to send you far away to some boarding school, and I know you will hate it there.
Oh no.
But I have an idea.
What?
You just have to run. Get out of here. I can send you money whenever you need it because I have access to all your mom's accounts. She doesn't even check the transactions. When you're old enough, you can sue her. She'll go to jail and you'll get all her money. I've seen you suffer enough. I think it will only get worse. You need to leave.
At that point, I realized that Sandra was right. I needed to get as far away as I could from my mother. I packed a bag and snuck out that same night. My mom hasn't even bothered to look for me. Not even a missing persons report was filed. I guess she really didn't care. But the truth will come out someday, and you'll know who she is. I can't wait to get my revenge. I watched as an older lady attempted to cross the road. Immediately, I stepped towards her. "Do you need help to cross the road?" The lady nodded, and I extended my elbow for her to hold on to. The older lady chatted politely as we crossed the road. Once we got to the other side, she turned to me.
Thank you, young man.
I nodded and pulled my hoodie over my face and walked away quickly. My story is pretty unusual, and it changed my whole life. If you want to know more about my experience, keep watching. I've always been very picky with what I eat and the number of times I exercise each week because I'm a competitive swimmer. When I sat with my friend during lunch, I'd comment about the other girls who were larger than I was, but were on the swimming team. I told my friends that those other girls didn't deserve to be on the swim team until they lost weight. I was also a popular girl and dated the most handsome guy at school, Kendall, who was the captain of the hockey team.
Gigi, you should really stop speaking about your teammates like that,
Kendall said during lunch one day. Why? I'm not saying anything wrong. If they lose a few pounds, then maybe they can win a match or two, instead of the rest of us having to push harder to hide their flaws.
You do know that you have flaws, right?
I laughed hysterically. Me? Flaws? I don't have any flaws.
You snore when you sleep, you eat with your mouth open, you never pluck your eyebrows equally.
I think you should stop.
Why? I was just getting started.
Kendall smiled.
Feels rotten when somebody speaks badly about you, doesn't it?
It did feel horrible, but I wasn't about to admit that to Kendall. I dismissed Kendall and focused on my friends as we laughed at Tammy as she walked by.
Did you guys see that unibrow?
Lisa laughed. Tammy ran away. My friends and I cackled. Kendall got up from the table.
I can't do this anymore.
Do what?
I can't be with someone who makes fun of other people. It's cruel and barbaric. I don't think this relationship will work out.
Kendall gathered his stuff and walked away. I yelled at him. I don't need you. You are replaceable. Good riddance. No way I was going to let Kendall embarrass me the way he did in front of my friends. The next day, I had a new boyfriend, Levi. I paraded him around Kendall every chance I got. I'd either kiss him or laugh scandalously at one of his corny jokes. That weekend, my friends and I went to the mall. Oh, look at the blue dress in the window. That would look so good on me. I didn't look where I was going and collided with an older gentleman. The contents from the brown bag that he held in his hand was mixed with the contents of my purse, which was scattered on the ground.
I'm so sorry,
the old man said. It's okay. Let's just get it cleaned up, okay? I handed the man the contents for his bag and placed my contents back in my purse. After he got everything, the old man thanked me and walked away. My friends and I continued our shopping spree, and I did get the blue dress. Every morning I exercise, eat breakfast, and take my supplement pill. But one day I looked in the mirror and realized something about me was different. I had a 5 o'clock shadow on my upper lip. I quickly got a disposable shaver and shaved my upper lip. Not only did I nick myself, but the shadow was still there.
Gigi, if you aren't downstairs in 5 minutes, I'm leaving without you.
Mom yelled up the stairs. I grabbed a scarf and wrapped it around my neck so it covered my mouth. Mom looked at me curiously, but she didn't ask, and I didn't say anything. Before class, I didn't even look for my friends. I went straight to class. I didn't want to be seen. During history class, Mrs. Farnsworth looked at me.
Gigi, in what year did the Haitian Revolution begin?
1792, I mumbled through the scarf.
I can't hear you, Gigi. Please remove the scarf and answer the question.
I slowly removed the scarf, but I placed my hand over my mouth and answered. Annoyed, Mrs. Farnsworth glared at me.
Miss Bernard, do you need to answer the question in the principal's office?
I shook my head and reluctantly removed my hand. The guy who sat next to me pointed at my upper lip.
Gigi, is that a mustache you're growing?
The class pointed at me and laughed. I wrapped my scarf around my mouth and sank into my chair as Mrs. Farnsworth tried to get the class under control. By lunchtime, when I walked down the hallway, students whispered as I passed. I stopped in my locker to store some of my books when Levi leaned on the locker next to mine.
Hey, baby, how about giving your boyfriend a kiss?
No, I slammed my locker door and walked away. Levi fell into step next to me.
You know there are lots of other girls in this school who are willing to kiss me. I guess I need to find one of them.
Levi walked away and I rolled my eyes. I thought my day couldn't get any worse, but I was totally wrong. During swim practice, Chelsea, one of my teammates, brushed past me to get the bench and I stumbled into Harper. Harper yelled,
"Ow, why are you so prickly? Did you eat porcupine for lunch?"
The other members of the team laughed and I moved away and stood in the corner till Coach called us to practice. Today was the day when Coach would pick the lead swimmers for our next national competition. After the day I had, I just couldn't get it together. After practice, Coach posted the list and I was a substitute. Me! A substitute for a competition that I had trained hard for over the past few months. To top off my day, I saw a message from Mom. She said she couldn't pick me up and I had to walk home. As I walked out of the schoolyard, I heard Kendall's voice behind me.
Hey, Giggy, wait up.
I quickly wiped the tears from my eyes, but I didn't stop. When he caught up to me, he held my hand and stopped me.
I know you had a bad day. I just wanted to give this to you.
He handed me a bar of white chocolate. White chocolate was my favorite. Thank you, I mumbled and walked away. He fell into step beside me.
You know, you can eat it now if you want.
What is he thinking? Eat it now and reveal my 5 o'clock shadow? I wouldn't dare.
I know you want to.
Kendall said painfully.
You're safe with me.
He squeezed my hand. I slowly removed the scarf and flinched, waiting for Kendall to make a remark about my face, but he didn't say anything. I opened the wrapper and munched on the chocolate. Kendall and I chatted all the way home. I didn't realize how much I had missed him. The sound of his voice, his laugh, how he made me feel. We arrived in front of my house and Kendall turned to me.
Can I walk you to school tomorrow?
Sure, thanks for the chocolate and the company. Kendall kissed me on my cheek and walked away and I went into the house. The next morning, I woke up feeling good about myself. Then I looked through my social media and my face turned pale. My timeline was flooded with memes of me morphing into a porcupine. I ran downstairs with my phone and showed Mom. Mom looked at the memes and laughed. Mom, why are you laughing?
It takes a lot of creativity to come up with something like that. However, I can't have my only daughter looking horrible at school.
Mom touched my eyebrows.
Did you grow a unibrow overnight?
I covered my eyebrows.
Go and get ready. Today, you are going to get a full body wax.
Mom dropped me off at the spa and she said she'd come back in an hour. I was set up with a new worker and the process began. I cried throughout the entire process. I felt as though my skin was being ripped from my body. When Mom returned, she paid the bill and we walked out of the spa. Mom, is my skin supposed to burn like this?
Oh, honey, it's all part of the process. As the saying goes, it hurts to be beautiful.
Mom dropped me home and left for the day. I spent the rest of the day applying cold cloths to my now red and blotchy skin. I was so excited to finally remove the excess hair from my skin that I forgot about meeting Kendall. I tried to call him after school, but he didn't answer. I even tried calling Lisa and the others, but nobody picked up. Next day at school, I wore a long-sleeve turtleneck and jeans. I applied makeup on my face to hide the red blotches on my face. I met Lisa and the others at our usual spot in the morning, but they walked away. Lisa looked back at me.
Don't take this personally, but our reputations are on the line, and we can't be seen with the laughingstock of the school.
During lunch, I found a table at the back of the cafeteria where the school's outcasts sat.
Hi, is this seat available?
Kendall smiled as he sat down. Kendall, I'm so sorry about yesterday. Mom took me to get waxed, and I was so caught up I forgot to call you.
I figured something came up, especially after seeing the memes on social media. I'm so sorry you have to go through with this.
I cried. I don't know why this is happening to me. Is this payback for everyone I ever made fun of?
I think you should go to the doctor to figure out what's wrong with you.
I dried my eyes. I hope they can help because I'm not sure how much longer I can put up with this. Kendall dried my eyes.
Everything will be okay, and I'm here for you if you need me.
Mom took me to Dr. Herschel the very next day. He did some blood work and then asked me a few questions.
Giggy, have you been taking any new medication?
No, the only thing I've been taking is my vitamin supplements every day.
Do you have the bottle here?
Yes, I always carry it with me. I dug in my purse, pulled out a bottle of supplements, and handed it over to Dr. Herschel. After he looked at the bottle, Dr. Herschel looked at me concerned.
Giggy, where did you get this?
He turned the bottle so I could read the label. My jaw dropped. The pills belonged to Frank Holland, and they weren't supplements. They were Xeljanz.
What is Xeljanz?
Mom asked.
It's an experimental drug for rheumatoid arthritis. My question is, how did you get a hold of this?
My mind ran back to the day at the mall when I had bumped into the old man. I told Dr. Herschel. That's when the mix-up probably occurred.
Gigi, you need to be more observant.
Mom scolded.
Those pills could have killed you.
We don't know all of the side effects of this drug because it's still in its trial phase. However, it seems that you're now suffering from a hirsutism, which is a condition where people grow more hair than usual.
Is there a cure?
There are some medications that I can prescribe that may be able to detox your system, but it may take a few months before you see the results.
After the visit, Mom and I thanked Dr. Herschel, and Mom gave me a lecture on the drive home from Dr. Herschel's office about being observant and watching the prescription of medications before I put them into my body. As soon as I got home, I called Kendall and told him about the doctor's visit. We chatted on the phone and about school and our plans for the upcoming summer vacation. When Mom called me to dinner, I told Kendall I'd see him at school the next day. We said our goodbyes and I hung up. Over the next few months, Kendall and I spent more time together and we were inseparable. We weren't in a relationship, but it was as good as it gets. My hairy skin was back to normal after a few months and my skin had a special glow to it now. One by one, my friends came back until we were all sitting around the table for lunch and hanging out at the mall. I can't pinpoint the exact day when Kendall stopped sitting with me for lunch. I did feel bad for not sitting with Kendall anymore, but there was no rule that said I only had to sit with Kendall for lunch. He was still allowed to sit with me, but he had chose not to, and we were allowed to have other friends. Even though I sat with my friends, I felt empty inside. I didn't feel as genuine as before. I realized that I missed Kendall, and without him, I wouldn't have made it through the last couple of months. I got up from the lunch table and went in search of Kendall. I saw him speaking with a girl and walked up to them. Hey, Kendall, can I speak with you for a moment?
Sure, what's up?
Can I speak with you privately? I looked at the girl who stood next to him.
No, we either speak here or not at all.
I swallowed hard. Okay, fine. I wanted to tell you that I missed you and asked if you'd like to eat lunch with me tomorrow. Kendall shook his head.
I really hope that your experience changed you, but you're the same Gigi from before. You only think about yourself. You can't just ignore me for 2 weeks and expect me to be okay with that and still want to be friends with you. I think it's best if we went our separate ways. We come from different worlds. I'm in mine, and you should stay in yours.
I watched as Kendall walked away and held the hand of the girl he was with. My heart sank, and I knew I lost someone that meant something to me. I took advantage of Kendall's kindness because it made me feel good. It's okay to have friends from different walks in life, but it's not okay to use people who only have your best interests at heart.
Bella, how many times am I going to wake you? We are waiting for breakfast.
My Aunt Martha stood over my bed, an angry scowl on her face. Can't you make breakfast yourselves? Martha clutched the pearls on her neck as if I'd insulted her.
Why would we do such a thing?
I hated my Aunt Martha. My mom died when I was 4 years old and my dad left soon after. I often dreamed of my mother and her beautiful smile. I looked just like her. I wanted to be a beauty queen like she was. Growing up, I used to wait by the window, waiting for Mom to come back and take me far away. But Martha made sure I knew that she was never coming back. Neither was my dad. Martha made me clean and pick after her and her daughter Annabelle. Whenever I complained, she told me I should be grateful that she took me in when nobody else wanted me. When I was younger, she threatened to put me in a foster home. At the time, I had no idea where that was, but it sounded terrible, so I did everything she asked. Hi, my name is Bella. It means beautiful. All my life, my Aunt Martha told me that I didn't deserve that name. Watch my story and find out how an encounter with a stranger proved her wrong. After I graduated high school, Martha told me she couldn't afford to pay for college. Instead, she had me waiting tables at a restaurant she owned.
Bella, order for table 8 is ready.
Sandra, one of the chefs, yelled. I hurriedly loaded a tray with everything the customer had ordered. I placed the tray at the table and asked the customer if he needed anything else. He didn't answer me. He just stared at my face. Your breakfast is on the tray and not on my face, creep, I thought to myself as I walked off. I'd never seen him at the restaurant before. I hoped he would never come back. There was something about the way he looked at me. It made me uncomfortable. The rest of my day was uneventful, but my mind kept wandering back to the man at table 8. He looked like he wanted to say something to me. Whatever it was, guess I'd never know. I didn't have a car, so I always walked home. I got my earphones and put on some music. I enjoyed the 1 hour it took to walk home. I'd pretend to be a model walking the runway in Paris just like my mom. I'd imagine cameras flashing in my face as the crowd cheered.
Excuse me, Bella?
Was someone calling my name? I took out my earphones and turned around. The man from that morning was standing there. I dropped my phone and started to run back into the restaurant. Stay away from me!
Bella, oh my god, are you alright?
Sandra held my shoulders as I tried to catch my breath. Just then, table 8 walked in carrying my phone and my earphones. I told you to stay away from me!
I'm sorry for scaring you. It wasn't my intention. Can we talk, please? I promise I'm not a creep or anything.
Hey, I saw you this morning.
Yes, you did. My name is Romano. I'd like to talk to Bella privately if that's all right with her.
Talk about what?
Go on, Bella. I'll be right behind the counter if you need me. I've got 911 on speed dial, mister, so no funny business.
Romano smiled as he led me to a table nearby.
Did you already eat? You can have something while we talk.
I'm not hungry. Now talk. What do you want? Why are you stalking me? Romano laughed.
I'd hardly call it that. I'm a photographer with a modeling agency, and I'd like to offer you a job.
What kind of job? I have no experience in photography. He looked sad for a moment, then smiled.
You have no idea, do you? How beautiful you are. The last time I saw a face like yours was, let's just say, I'd be honored to photograph you.
Me? I'm not a model. I just wait tables here.
You could be. I've been looking for you. I mean, someone like you. You'd be perfect for my agency.
I don't even know you. Again, Romano looked sad.
I understand that. How about I leave you my card? It has my number and address on it. Call me if you change your mind. I hope you do.
He stood up and waved at Sandra, then left. I stared at the card for a long time. Who would want me to model for them? I was not beautiful. When I got home, I told Aunt Martha about Romano. I even showed her his card. She laughed and called me stupid.
He's just trying to get you into bed with him. If he was looking for models, he'd ask Annabelle, not you.
You'd think that with all the hurtful things my aunt said to me, I'd be used to it, but her words still hurt so much. I left the table and ran to my bedroom. A few minutes later, she knocked on the door and I thought she had realized how hurtful her words were and was there to apologize. I opened the door, ready to forgive her.
We are done eating. The table won't clear itself.
I decided to call Romano the next day. I couldn't live like this anymore. Romano sounded so happy to hear from me so soon. I took a cab and found him waiting for me at the agency.
Bella, I'm so happy you're here. Come.
I followed him to his office where huge posters of models hung on the walls. There was no way I could look like them. We spoke over a cup of coffee. He answered all my questions, and the more we spoke, the more relaxed I felt. By the end of our meeting, I was sold. I left Romano's office so happy I was practically bouncing. I went straight to the restaurant and shared the good news with Sandra.
Congratulations, honey. I can't wait to see you on a magazine cover.
Sandra hugged me. We said our tearful goodbyes, and I promised to keep in touch even after I became famous. I'd been working with Romano and his team for close to a month. Living with Martha was unbearable, now more than before. I was waiting for my first paycheck so I could get my own apartment. One day we worked so late it was close to midnight when I got home. Romano dropped me off at the door. I found Martha so angry I thought I saw smoke coming out her ears.
Is he paying you to sleep with him? Don't think I haven't noticed your new fancy clothes and your makeup. Your mother would be disappointed if she saw the kind of girl you've become. I'm glad you're not my daughter. I'd be so ashamed.
My mother loved me. I wish she never died and left me with an evil woman like you. I was so angry.
You ungrateful child. After all I did for you.
She slapped my face. I ran out the door and kept running. I didn't care where I went as long as it was away from that monster. After walking around for an hour, I called Romano. I could barely get any words out in between my sobs.
Bella, slow down. Tell me what happened.
Romano picked me up a few minutes later. He found me sitting by the side of the road shivering. I had no jacket on, just the dress I'd been wearing during our shoot.
Belle, is this how your aunt treats you? For how long?
Belle. The way he said my name, it sounded so familiar. Bella.
What?
You called me Belle. He was quiet for some time.
It's what your mother used to call you.
Yeah, I miss her. Wait, how do you know that? I grabbed the car door handle ready to bolt. Who was this man?
Please, let's go somewhere and talk. It's freezing out here.
I'm not going anywhere with you until you tell me who you really are.
I knew your mother.
Who are you?
I'm so sorry. This is not how I wanted you to find out.
Find out what? Can you tell me what's going on?
My name is Richard, not Romano. I'm your father.
No, you are not. My father left me a long time ago. He has another family now.
Is that what Martha told you?
I couldn't sit still. I thought my heart would beat a hole in my chest. I looked up at the man claiming to be my father and I didn't know what to believe or what to feel. I was angry, but somehow relieved. I was angry at him for leaving me, but relieved he was back. My head was going to explode.
Please, say something.
Why did you come back?
I've been gathering the courage to talk to you for months. I called Martha, but she told me that you wanted nothing to do with me. She refused to tell me where you were, so I came to the house one day. She was furious. She said that you were away at college and I was not to bother you.
I didn't know.
I left my card with her and I told her to give it to you. A few days later, a girl showed up at the agency and claimed to be you.
What? Who was it?
Martha's daughter, Annabelle.
Why would she do that?
She came to tell me to stay away, that she was happy with Martha and didn't want me back in her life.
As Richard spoke, I realized that my Aunt Martha was even worse than I thought. The devil had nothing on her.
When I told her that I knew she wasn't you, she confessed that it was all her mother's idea. She told me where to find you. I told her to tell Martha that their plan had worked.
Richard had waited a few days, then showed up at the restaurant. I was speechless. Why did you leave me? He held his hands together and looked at the floor.
The house you live in belonged to your grandfather. When he died, he left it to Martha and your mother. After your mom died, Martha kicked us out. I begged her to let you stay since I had nowhere to take you. I told her I'd come back for you.
But you didn't. Is that why she hates me so much? You left her to raise a child she didn't want? How could you do that to me?
I'm so sorry. I was grieving for your mother.
He told me that after Martha kicked him out, he tried to get back on his feet. He was homeless for months. He'd watch the house and sometimes he'd see me out playing. He thought I was happy, so he left town.
I had nothing to offer you, Belle.
When morning came, I went into the agency dressing room and fell asleep. Later that day, Richard and I went back to the mansion. As I packed my clothes, I could hear Richard and Martha exchange some very unkind words.
What do you plan to do now?
Sandra and I were unpacking in my new apartment. I didn't have much yet, but with what Richard was paying me...
Wish she was here.
Me too, but I guess that will do. I pointed to the mural on the front wall of the mansion. It was a painting of my mom holding me when I was a baby. My dad held my hand as we walked inside, ready to start our new life. Oh, and did I tell you? I was also going to college to study photography.